chosen ones. There's someone out there losing sleep because of you, not because you cursed them or wished them harm, but because the truth you carry in your spirit is about to crack open their carefully constructed facade, like an egg hitting concrete. The universe didn't just hand you information by accident. You've been walking around with a key in your pocket, and you didn't even know which door it was meant to open. But God knew, the divine knew, and now the door is right in front of you, and behind it are people who've been waiting in darkness for someone like you to turn on the lights. Listen carefully. You were positioned exactly where you needed to be, looking exactly how you needed to look, speaking exactly how you needed to speak. They thought you were average, they thought you were safe, they watched you keep your head down and assumed you couldn't see what was happening around you, but you saw everything, every lie, every manipulation, every time they took credit for someone else's work, every time they destroyed a reputation to protect their own. You watched it all with your eyes wide open, hidden in plain sight like a lion in tall grass. And now the moment has arrived when you stand up and they finally realize what you actually are. The record is about to be set straight, and you're the one holding the pen. Here's what nobody told you about being chosen. It doesn't always feel powerful. Most of the time it feels like you're carrying something heavy that you can't put down. You've been holding this information, this truth, this knowing inside your chest, and it's been burning there like hot coals. Some nights you laid awake wondering if you should speak up. Other times you opened your mouth and stopped yourself, thinking maybe you were crazy, maybe you were seeing things that weren't there, maybe you were making it all up in your head, but you weren't crazy, you were being prepared. God was downloading information into your consciousness in stages, piece by piece, wave after wave, until you had the complete picture, and now you have it, the whole truth. Not just fragments or suspicions, but the kind of clarity that makes everything else make sense. There's someone in your world who built their entire reputation on smoke and mirrors. They positioned themselves as the expert, the leader, the one everybody should listen to and follow. They collected followers like trophies. They controlled narratives like a puppet master pulling strings. And for a long time it worked. People believed them, people trusted them, people gave them power and influence and money and respect. But you know something that nobody else knows. You have a piece of information that, when spoken out loud, will make everyone suddenly understand what's been happening right in front of their faces this whole time. It's the kind of truth that's so obvious once you hear it, that people will wonder how they missed it. How did they not see? How did they fall for it? How did this person get away with it for so long? The answer is simple. They were waiting for you. The collective consciousness was waiting for someone who couldn't be bought, couldn't be intimidated, couldn't be silenced. Someone who would rather lose everything than let a lie continue to imprison people. That's you. That's always been you. And the reason it took this long is because you had to be built for this moment. You had to develop the strength, the wisdom, the discernment, and the courage to stand in your truth, even when standing alone. God didn't just give you information. God gave you the character to handle what comes after you release it. Let me tell you what's happening behind the scenes right now. There's a person, maybe someone you know personally, or maybe someone in your extended circle, who's starting to panic. They feel the shift coming. They sense that their time is running out. See, people who build empires on lies have a sixth sense for exposure. They can smell truth coming toward them, the way animals smell rain before a storm. And right now they're scrambling. They're trying to figure out how to control the narrative before you open your mouth. They're reaching out to allies, calling in favors, preparing their defense, crafting their counter-story. They're doing everything they can to maintain the image they've worked so hard to create. But here's what they don't understand. You're not coming with gossip. You're not coming with revenge. You're not coming with petty drama or personal vendettas. You're coming with information that sets captives free. That's the difference. That's why they can't win this battle. They're fighting to protect a lie. You're fighting to liberate people from mental prisons, emotional prisons, psychological prisons they didn't even know they were in. This person you're about to expose, they've been cosplaying as someone they're not. They took the concept of fake it till you make it and turned it into a lifestyle. They studied the mannerisms of powerful people, copied their language, mimicked their confidence, and presented themselves as the finished product when they were really still on page one. They're not the teacher, they're the student. They're not the queen or king they pretended to be. They're still learning the basics, still figuring it out, still faking their way through every conversation and every decision. And you know this because you've been watching, you've been listening, you've been paying attention while everyone else was distracted by the performance. God positioned you as a witness, and now you're being called to testify. Not in a courtroom, though for some of you that might literally be true, but in the court of public opinion, in the arena of truth, in the space where lies go to die and reality finally gets to breathe. When you speak what you know, you're going to watch this person's carefully constructed image crumble like ancient ruins. The mask will come off, the costume will fall away, and everyone will see what you've been seeing all along. Now here's where it gets interesting. When you bring this person to shame, something unexpected is going to happen to you. You're going to rise, not because you sought fame or attention or recognition, but because truth has a way of elevating the messenger. People are going to want to know who you are. How did you know? Where did you get that information? What else do you see that we're missing? Invitations are coming. Opportunities are opening. Doors that were locked before are about to swing wide. Some of you are going to make headlines, not local headlines, national headlines, the kind of exposure that changes your entire trajectory. You think I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. The same divine force that gave you the information is about to give you the platform to share it. And this is where you need to understand something crucial. You're not being elevated because you're special in the way the world defines special. You're being elevated because you were faithful with what God gave you. You didn't bury the truth. You didn't hide it to protect yourself or avoid conflict. You didn't sell it to the highest bidder or use it as leverage for personal gain. You held it sacred, and when the time came, you released it to set people free. That's why the universe is about to reward you, not with worldly success, though that might come, but with access, connection, influence, the ability to reach people you could never reach before. You're about to walk into rooms you weren't even trying to get into. You're about to meet people who can change the entire direction of your life with one conversation, one introduction, one opportunity. But let's be real about what this means. You're entering the upper echelon. You're stepping into spaces where kings and queens operate, where millionaires make decisions, where power players move in silence and shake the world with whispers. This isn't just about you getting a promotion or a raise, though some of you will experience that too. This is about you being repositioned in the spiritual and natural realm. You're being moved from the audience to the stage, from the background to the spotlight, from the shadows to the center of attention. And with that comes responsibility. With that comes pressure. With that comes people watching your every move, analyzing your every word, judging whether you deserve to be there. That's why the strength you've been building wasn't optional. It was preparation. You're about to need every ounce of courage you've developed, every moment of doubt you pushed through, every time you chose truth over comfort, every sacrifice you made when nobody was watching. All of it was training for this moment. Because when you expose someone powerful, when you dismantle someone's carefully crafted image, when you bring shame to someone who thought they were untouchable, there will be backlash, there will be resistance. There will be people who don't want to believe you, who will defend the lie because accepting the truth means admitting they were deceived. But you're ready for that. You've been made ready. If this message hits your spirit, hype this video so more chosen ones like you can find it. Let's talk about the battle you're actually fighting. This isn't just about one person getting exposed. This is about a shift in consciousness, a transfer of power, a changing of the guard. The person you're about to bring to shame represents something bigger than themselves. They represent a system, a way of operating, a mindset that's been dominant for too long. They represent the fake teachers, the false prophets, the manipulators who prey on people's trust and ignorance. They represent everyone who ever climbed to the top by stepping on others, who built wealth by stealing credit, who gained influence by controlling narratives and silencing truth-tellers. When you expose this one person, you're sending a message to everyone operating the same way. Your time is up. The age of lies and manipulation is coming to an end. Now, will lying and manipulating completely disappear? No, there will always be people who choose that path. But here's the difference. They won't have credibility anymore. They won't have power anymore. They'll go from being the town hero to the town clown. Imagine someone who everyone looked up to, who everyone trusted, who everyone believed in, and then they get exposed for who they really are. They can keep talking, they can keep trying to maintain their image, but nobody takes them seriously anymore. Nobody listens, nobody follows. They become a cautionary tale, a punchline, a reminder of what happens when you build your life on lies. That's the shame they're about to experience. Not just embarrassment, but complete loss of credibility and influence. And here's what makes this even more powerful. You're not doing this alone. There's someone in your corner, someone in a position of authority or influence, who sees what you see and knows what you know. This person has resources you don't have. They have access you don't have. They have power you don't have, but they also have integrity, and they recognize that same integrity in you. When you speak up, they're going to back you up. When you expose the truth, they're going to amplify it. When the person you're exposing tries to fight back, this ally is going to shut them down. Think of it like this. If you're dealing with a corrupt supervisor at work, there's a regional manager who's been watching and waiting for someone to speak up so they can finally take action. If you're dealing with someone in your community who's been abusing their influence, there's someone with more influence who's ready to step in and restore order. You have a king or queen in your corner. Someone who operates at a higher level, someone who understands the game, someone who's been waiting for the right person to partner with. And when you two come together, when your truth meets their power, that's when the real transformation happens. That's when the person who thought they were untouchable gets touched. That's when the lies that seemed permanent get dismantled. That's when justice finally shows up after being delayed for so long. And not only does this person get exposed, not only do they lose their position, but you get elevated, you get the promotion, you get the raise, you get the recognition, you get what was always meant to be yours but was blocked because someone else was fraudulently occupying that space. Right now, someone is losing sleep over you. While you're resting, while you're going about your day, while you're living your life, there's a person who can't find peace. They're pacing their room at night. They're refreshing social media, looking for signs that you've spoken up. They're calling people, trying to do damage control before any damage has been done. They're in a panic because they know, they feel it in their spirit. The exposure is coming. The reckoning is near. The truth is about to break through like water through a cracked dam, and once it starts, there's no stopping it. Where they used to feel calm and confident, now there's chaos and fear. Where they used to feel secure in their position, now they feel the ground shifting under their feet. Where there used to be harmony in their life, now there's dissonance and disorder. They're experiencing a spiritual decline, and they know it. They climbed so high, worked so hard to get to the top, fooled so many people along the way, and just when they thought they made it, just when they thought they were safe, you showed up. Not with aggression or hostility, but simply by being who you are and carrying what you carry. Your presence, your truth, your light disrupted their entire operation. It's like they were rolling a giant boulder up a hill, straining and struggling but making progress. And then you appeared, and suddenly that boulder started rolling backward. Now they have two choices: run and get out of the way, or get crushed by the weight of their own lies. Either way, they're going down. The only question is how far and how fast. Some of them will lose their positions, some will lose their reputations, some will lose their freedom, but all of them will lose their power over people. That's the real loss, not the material things, though those matter. But the ability to manipulate, to control, to deceive, that's gone forever. Because once people see the truth, they can't unsee it. Once the mask comes off, it can never fit quite right again. Once the lie is exposed, the liar can never fully recover their credibility. That's the shame that's coming. That's the justice that's been delayed, but is now arriving right on time. Let's talk about what happens in the next 14 days. The energy is shifting rapidly now. Things that were hidden are coming to light. People who were pretending are being exposed, and you're at the center of it all, whether you plan to be or not. In the next 2 weeks, you're going to experience a wave of consciousness so powerful, it's going to change how you see everything. Clarity is coming. Confirmation is coming. Confidence is coming. Confirmation is coming. Confidence is coming. Confidence is coming. Confidence of not because you were seeking approval, but because God is confirming that what you sensed was real, what you saw was accurate, what you know is true. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something, but talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. You put on the headphones, press play and watch your enemies choke on the rope their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your Destiny Engine for $1 today. Join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. And with that confirmation comes boldness. You're going to speak up in ways you haven't before. You're going to move with authority you didn't know you had. You're going to walk into spaces with your head up and your shoulders back, no longer hiding, no longer playing small, no longer pretending to be less than you are. The people who thought you were weak are about to see your strength. The people who thought you were ignorant are about to see your wisdom. The people who thought you were harmless are about to see your power. Not power in an aggressive or dominating way, but power in the truest sense. The ability to influence, to impact, to transform situations simply by showing up as your authentic self. In the next 14 days, you're going to meet someone or encounter an opportunity that catapults you forward. This isn't gradual growth, this is a quantum leap. One conversation could change everything. One introduction could open doors you didn't even know existed. One decision could set you on a completely different trajectory. And it's all connected to you speaking your truth, to you setting the record straight, to you being willing to bring shame to those who deserve it. See, the universe doesn't reward cowardice. It doesn't elevate people who hide what they know to keep the peace. It elevates people who are willing to disrupt false peace, to establish true justice. That's you. That's what you've been doing. That's why you're about to be rewarded in ways that will shock you. You're entering rooms where the real players operate, not the people pretending to be players, not the people faking success, but the actual kings and queens, the actual decision makers, the actual powerhouses who move in silence and shake industries with their influence. These are your people. This is your tribe. This is where you were always meant to be. The faker who was occupying that space is about to be removed, and you're about to step into your rightful position, not because you pushed anyone out, but because truth has a way of correcting misalignments. When someone is in a position they don't deserve, when someone is receiving honor they didn't earn, when someone is wielding influence they obtained through deception, the universe will eventually correct that, and you're the instrument of that correction. Here's what I need you to understand about the information you're carrying. It's not just facts or data or evidence. It's a spiritual key. There are people trapped right now, mentally, emotionally, psychologically imprisoned by lies they believe about themselves, about others, about how the world works. They're stuck in cycles they can't break out of because they don't have the information they need to see clearly. They're following leaders who are leading them in circles. They're trusting people who are betraying that trust behind closed doors. They're believing narratives that were designed to keep them confused and compliant. And you have the key to unlock those prison doors. You have the information that will set them free. When you speak what you know, people are going to have light bulb moments. They're going to say, "Oh my God, that makes sense now. That explains everything. I knew something felt off, but I couldn't figure out what." Your truth is going to connect dots people didn't even know were related. It's going to expose patterns people couldn't see because they were too close to the situation. It's going to reveal motivations people never suspected because they assumed good intentions. And once people are free from the mental prison, once they can see clearly again, once they understand what was really happening, they're going to be grateful, not just to you personally, though some will express that, but grateful to the universe for sending someone who cared enough to tell the truth, even when it was uncomfortable. There are gatekeepers trying to prevent you from reaching these imprisoned people. There are people standing guard, blocking access, trying to keep the status quo intact. They know that if you get through, if you speak your truth, if you set the captives free, their whole operation falls apart. So they've been working overtime to discredit you, to silence you, to make you doubt yourself. They've attacked your character. They've questioned your motives. They've tried to paint you as the problem when you're actually the solution. But their time is up. The gate is about to be blown wide open, not because you forced it, but because divine timing has arrived. And when you walk through that gate with your key, when you unlock those prison doors, when you set those people free, the gatekeepers are going to be humiliated. They're going to stand there exposed for what they really are. Not protectors, not leaders, not guardians of truth, but guards of a prison, wardens of a lie, enforcers of a system that benefits them at the expense of everyone else. The embarrassment they're about to experience is not something you need to orchestrate. It's not something you need to plan or strategize. It's a natural consequence of them being on the wrong side of truth. When you stand on truth, you don't have to worry about vengeance or karma or justice. All of that takes care of itself. Your only job is to speak what you know, to share what was given to you, to turn on the light so people can finally see. Let's address something important. You might be feeling scared right now. You might be nervous about speaking up, worried about the consequences, concerned about how people will react. That's normal. That's human. But here's what you need to remember. Fear is often a sign that you're about to do something significant. If what you were about to say didn't matter, you wouldn't be afraid. If the information you carry wasn't powerful, there wouldn't be resistance. The fact that you feel the weight of this moment means you understand how important it is. And that's actually a good thing. It means you're taking it seriously. It means you're not being reckless or careless with what you've been given. But don't let fear stop you. Don't let nervousness silence you. Don't let worry about what might happen prevent you from doing what you know you're supposed to do. Because on the other side of your fear is freedom. On the other side of your nervousness is your purpose. On the other side of your worry is the impact you're meant to make. God didn't download this information into you so you could keep it to yourself. The universe didn't position you where you are so you could watch from the sidelines. You were chosen for this specific moment because you have the character, the integrity, and the courage to handle it. Even if you don't feel courageous right now, you are. Even if you feel weak, you're strong. Even if you feel unqualified, you're exactly who was needed. Think about it this way. If you were supposed to stay quiet, you would feel peace in your silence. But you don't, do you? There's a restlessness in your spirit. There's a knowing that won't go away. There's a voice inside you that keeps saying, "It's time. Speak up. Tell the truth. Set the record straight." That's not anxiety. That's divine instruction. That's your assignment activating. That's the Holy Spirit, the universe, the ancestors, whatever you want to call it, pushing you toward your purpose. And when you finally move, when you finally speak, when you finally release what you've been holding, you're going to feel something shift inside you. The weight will lift, the burden will ease, and you'll wonder why you waited so long. Now let's talk about what happens after you speak your truth. There's going to be a period of adjustment. Some people are going to celebrate you. They're going to thank you for your courage. They're going to tell you they knew something was wrong but didn't know how to articulate it. These are your allies. These are the people who will stand with you when others try to tear you down. But there will also be people who resist, people who defend the person you exposed, people who accuse you of having ulterior motives, people who say you're jealous or bitter or seeking attention. Don't be surprised by this. Don't be discouraged by this. This is always what happens when truth disrupts a comfortable lie. Some people are so invested in the lie that accepting the truth would mean admitting they were fooled, and that's too painful for them, so they'll double down on the lie. They'll attack the messenger to avoid facing the message. They'll defend the indefensible because the alternative is too uncomfortable. Let them. Your job isn't to convince everyone. Your job isn't to win a popularity contest. Your job is to speak truth and let truth do what truth does. Some people will receive it immediately, others will need time to process, and some will never accept it. That's not your problem. You're not responsible for how people respond to truth. You're only responsible for speaking it. And here's what's going to happen over time. The people who initially resisted are going to start seeing more evidence that confirms what you said. Little things will happen. Other people will come forward with similar stories. New information will emerge that supports your claims. And slowly, gradually, the truth you spoke will become undeniable. Even the people who defended the liar will quietly change their position. They won't apologize to you. They probably won't even acknowledge that you were right, but their behavior will change. They'll distance themselves from the person you exposed. They'll stop defending them. They'll admit, at least to themselves, that you were telling the truth all along. This is why you don't need to fight everyone who doubts you. Time and truth are on your side. The more distance people get from the initial shock of your revelation, the more clearly they'll see it. The more they observe the person you exposed, the more they'll notice the patterns you pointed out. The more they pay attention, the more obvious it becomes that you were right. So speak your truth, and then step back. Let it breathe. Let it work. Let it do what it's meant to do. Your job is to plant the seed. The universe will handle the harvest. Let me paint you a picture of where you're heading. 6 months from now, a year from now, you're going to look back at this moment and be amazed at how much changed. You're going to be in rooms you couldn't get into before. You're going to have relationships with people who couldn't see you before. You're going to have opportunities that didn't exist before, not because you chased them, but because you were faithful with what you were given. You spoke your truth. You set the record straight. You brought shame to those who deserved it. And in doing so, you positioned yourself for promotion. The right person is about to be put to absolute shame. The record is about to be set straight. And you, chosen one, you are the instrument through which all of this will happen, not because you're perfect, but because you're willing, not because you have it all figured out, but because you're faithful, not because you're the strongest or the smartest or the most qualified, but because when God called, you answered. When the universe assigned, you accepted. When truth needed a voice, you opened your mouth. Now go do what you were born to do.